Hello, welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And people come help us because people are so generous. And a great example of that is Jorge Contreras. Jorge, there we go. Oh, and a great, hold on.
That's okay, because my dad's name is Jose, and one of my best friends is Jose, and everyone calls him Jose. Jose and Jorge is like the same thing. It's all good.
Yeah, it's not actually, but that's very generous of you to say. And you can call me Sarah. We have Jorge Contreras, and he is a real estate investor. He's an Airbnb coach, and he is passionate about helping people create time, financial, and location freedom with Airbnb and real estate investing, which are not always the same thing. So we got to talk about that. He retired at age 29 and he became a millionaire by 30 because you don't want to screw around, right? Once you retire, you just want to get right to the millionaire status. And now he earns 7 figures with his Airbnb business. Jorge, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Christine, for the opportunity. Excited to connect with you and hopefully share some valuable golden nuggets for all these up and coming entrepreneurs.
I'm sure you will. And the first thing I want to say is that I wish I was you. You know what I mean? Like it took me so flipping long to figure this whole thing out. How did you do it so fast?
You know, they say that success loves speed. And the way I was able to speed things up is by standing on the shoulders of my mentors. And so it really started in 2015 when I became a student at the Rich Dad Company. And just to kind of preface this, you know, I was born in a household with 2 Mexican immigrant parents who didn't have any education. Like they never went to school, like period. They had to work since they were little. A lot of the businesses that my dad and mom did, they were like illegal. Like we were selling drugs when I was 7, smuggling people into the US when I was 10. My dad was like in and out of jail. And so like, long story short, I had like no foundation for like entrepreneurship in any legal ways or like investing. So there was no way that I could become who I become today by just staying around the same environment and the same friends and family that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I wanted to create a different life, I needed to surround myself with different people in an environment where they had already done it. And then I could just do it, right? Like they say, you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So in 2015, I became a student at the Rich Dad, Poor Dad real estate education company and had a multi-millionaire mentor. Her name is Mary Jo Wilson. She was my one-on-one coach. And then of course I had all the group coaching, learning like all the various strategies of real estate. But that's really what accelerated my growth, Christine, is I got to spend 3 days, 8 hours a day with a multi-millionaire who owned millions and millions and millions of dollars of real estate, was incorporating multiple strategies. And it literally changed my life. I feel like it shaved 10 years of me trying to figure it out. But more than anything, like the mindset that she taught me, because up until then, I had that Dave Ramsey mindset. And I would send my mortgage payment. And in addition to it, I was sending $3,000 to $5,000 a month to the principal. I was on track to paying that house off in the first 8 years. By the time I would have been 32, it would have been paid off. And on that day 1, she said, Jorge, why are you doing that? I said, because I want to become financially free. And then she said, honey, that's not how you do it. I was like, well, what should I do? and then she taught me the difference between good debt and bad debt. She's like, bad debt takes money out of your pocket. Good debt puts money into your pocket. Bad debt are things that depreciate in value over time. And good debt are things that appreciate in value over time. She said, if you want to become financially free, what I would do. And then she literally pulled out a white 8x11 sheet of paper, broke down the numbers, and shared to me how I could do a refinance cash out and pull out $160,000 tax free. She said, I want you to take that money out and go buy 2 more houses. And that conversation right there, what I shared over the last 75 seconds, is literally why I became a millionaire within 2.5 years after that conversation, because I started buying more real estate. In my area, properties were appreciating 14% year over year. And it just compounded. And now here we are on this podcast.
Isn't that awesome? But first of all, I would argue that your parents were entrepreneurs.
They were.
Right?
I just had to
Definitely.
extract the entrepreneur part and be like, all right, just do it in legal ways.
Right. That's awesome though, because that is totally where I went wrong, because I just thought, oh man, this is my calling. I'm driven to do real estate. It's all going to work out so well. All I have to do is show up and buy a property. And like, I had no clue. But you were like smart enough to say, you know what? If I don't want to sell drugs or smuggle in illegal immigrants, I better learn something. So let me just go talk to an expert. And that's so smart, like shortcut. I was probably even more than 10 years, right? You would have paid off your mortgage. You may never have found this because you would have been like, oh, I paid off my mortgage. Now I only have to make, $50 a month. So I'll just do what I love and having a great life, and then you'd be bored by the time you were 40, you'd be slitting your wrists in the bathroom, right?
Exactly. And she told me, she said, look, yeah, you might pay off your house by the time you're 32, but you're still going to be stuck in a rat race. And what about all your other bills? What about travel? What about when you want to go to like nice restaurants or drive a nice car? And I was like, you know what? You're right. She said, you need to just focus on building enough cash flow that can pay for your living expenses. And even for things that you want to do, like vacations, eat out, get a nice car, get enough cash flow that it just pays for your lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Someone said this, I heard this somewhere, that like money is a liquid asset. So you have to keep it flowing, right? You just keep it flowing, comes in, goes out. You just like, right? It's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's true. I remember someone, I don't know if this will translate good, but somebody told me one day that money is almost like being in a relationship with someone. Imagine if you're, most people, when they get money, they just put it under their pillow in their safe or in a bank account, and they don't move the money. And it was like, imagine if you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend or husband and wife, and you just kept them like in the closet and just never took them out, right? They're going to leave you. Like, money does not like that. And that's why there's this, it's the velocity of money. Money loves to be around, right? It's like when I got that first property, I did a refinance cash out. I'm sorry, I bought it with an FHA loan in 2012. And then, 2 years later, all the money that I would have been paying in the mortgage, I never had to, because I rented those 3 rooms out. The property was 4 bedrooms. I rented 3 rooms out. That paid for everything: principal, interest, taxes, insurance. 2 years later, I built a new house in the back. 2 years later, I pulled out 160,000 and went and bought 2 more houses. And then I did house hacking on those 2 houses, turned each one from a single family to a 2-unit, and then turn them into Airbnbs. And it's just, I'm always moving the money from one area to another. And that's what money loves. It loves to be moved like the ocean. It's just
take it out to dinner, right? Show it off.
Exactly. Take it out to dinner, court it, treat it with respect, love
Take it for a ride.
And yeah, if you appreciate it and use it wisely, you will attract more of it.
Absolutely. That's so true. That is absolutely true. Love that. So tell us now, you don't own all the properties that you do Airbnb on, right? Tell us like how your life works now and how you help other people.
Sure. So right now we have a portfolio of 18 units. We have 8 that we own, 7 that we sublease, and 3 that we manage. And I kept posting on like social media over the last, I started 6 years ago posting on social media. That's when I started my YouTube channel, started posting on Instagram I was just documenting what I was doing. When I would be launching Airbnbs and assembling bunk beds, I would post it, and I would even say, hey, if somebody wants to come help me and learn in the process, I'm going to order pizza, pizza on me, and you get to learn. And documenting and sharing. And that led me to, like, people kept saying, hey, can you teach me how to do it? Teach me how to do it. And there was a lot of people that I wouldn't charge them. I would just teach them how to do it, but then they wouldn't do it. And then I heard someone say, like, well, that's because
you pay attention.
Those who pay attention. I was like, oh. So then I started charging for it, and now people had some skin in the game. And then I started seeing people create results. So now, fast forward 5 years later, we have an education company called The Real System, where we teach people how to start Airbnbs with or without owning real estate, with the principal purpose of replacing their 9-to-5. And then the secondary purpose is to help them create long-term wealth.
And that's the dream, right? Living the dream.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's very, very, rewarding. And I always tell everyone, like, my goal for you guys is to own as much real estate, because they're not making any more of it, right? It's scarce. That's how you're going to create long-term wealth. Right. That said, many of you might not be in a position, like most people need 2 to 4 Airbnbs to replace their 9 to 5. And most people don't have 2 to 4 properties, worth
Like
of
down
down
payment.
payments and
Yeah,
closing
yeah.
costs and furniture. Like you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Right.
To go replace your 9 to 5. But, if you go with the arbitrage model, and you launch each Airbnb with like 15K, you could actually I always tell people just, come up with the money for the first Airbnb. And rather than spending the profits, reinvest the money from the first Airbnb to launch the second one. And then use the money from those 2 Airbnbs to launch a third one, and the money from those 3 to launch the fourth one. And then boom, in less
And then
than
start buying.
18 months, if you executed this correctly, there's a high probability that you could have replaced your 9 to 5.
Fantastic. So people say to me, when I explain this to people, rental arbitrage and how this whole thing works and stuff, a lot of people are like, why wouldn't the owner just do it themselves?
That's a great question. First, let me talk about what rental arbitrage is, and then I'll talk
Please. Yep.
about
Great.
why they wouldn't do it themselves.
Yep.
So rental arbitrage is it's a process where we get permission in writing from a property owner to use their property as a short-term rental, and then we launch it on platforms like Airbnb. And if I'm paying a landlord, say $3,000 a month, and I can generate $6,000 a month on Airbnb, obviously minus some expenses in the middle, the difference is going to be my profit. And why wouldn't landlords do it themselves? They wouldn't do it themselves for the same reason that when you go to a barbershop or a hair salon, typically the people who own the real estate don't own and operate that hair salon or barbershop. Or when you go to a nail salon, or if you go to a restaurant, right? Most of the time, the person who owns that land, who owns that real estate, is not the owner of the business. And that's because most real estate investors, they just want mailbox money. They are not in the business of wanting to do something that is heavy operation, right? Like barbershops, nail salons, restaurants, Airbnbs, they are a operation intensive business. And you have to know how to hire, how to delegate, how to automate, how to build processes and systems and SOPs. Like you literally have to know how to run a business. And if you look at 95% of the US population are employees, which means they have an employee mindset. Only 5% of people in the US are self-employed or business owners. And even part of that 5% who are self-employed, they still have an employee mindset. That's why a lot of people that think they have a business, they just have a job. Because if they stop working, money stops coming in, right? That could be realtors, loan officers, or any business. You stop working, you go on vacation for a month, and money stops coming in. That's not a business. That's a job. So there's probably only about 2 or 3% of the US population that can actually go on vacation for a month, and the same amount of money comes in. That being said, the vast majority of these real estate property owners don't have an entrepreneurship mindset. They wouldn't even know where to start. When it comes to how do you design it, the decor, the furniture, the photography, the marketing, the description, you have to learn, you have to know about branding, marketing, sales, building a team. It's a lot of work. So hopefully that answers that question.
Well, and plus Airbnb has its own little quirky things, right?
Exactly.
The whole review process and making sure how you get to be a super host and all these kind of things that really give you an advantage. And it might not even be that they don't have, that they have an employee mindset. They might just be they've got so much money. Why should I care? Right. Sure. You give me the 3,000. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry if the cleaner's going to show up. Right. I mean, it's just all easy.
Yep, absolutely.
Whether it's to you or to a long-term tenant, and you're taking the risk because if for some reason somebody doesn't come or whatever. So speaking of risk, did you have any impact during the pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. So for March 15th, I still remember to this day when the NBA shut down, I was like, uh-oh, something's really happening here. And what was it? They called it the 2-week curve. Is that what they called it? There's
I don't remember.
Yeah, they said it was
I blocked it out.
Yeah, it was like a 2-week curve. So we're going to shut everything down for 2 weeks, which that was a long 2 weeks. What was it, like 2 years? Right. But yeah, from March 15th to about April 30th, and I apologize, I'm still getting over a cough here. But from March 15th to April 30th, it was really bad for 6 weeks. What Airbnb did, which we all thought was super unfair, all reservations had the ability to get canceled, and everyone got 100% refund. And so the ones that kind of got the short end of the stick were landlords and Airbnb people who were subleasing, because we had to come out of pocket. But then after, May 1st and moving forward, it started to really pick up again. And actually, like 2021 was one of the best year. And 2022 actually was really good as well. But yeah, 21 and 22 were the two best years in the short-term rental industry, because even though there was a lot of people that didn't travel as much by plane, it created an increase of people that began traveling by car. People started realizing that to have a great vacation, you no longer had to go on a plane to a different country and stay at an expensive all-inclusive resort. You could just book an Airbnb 30 minutes away from where you live, where you could fit 10 of your household, 10 of your family members. Yeah. In a 4, 5, 6 bedroom house that has a pool, a jacuzzi, a game room, a barbecue, and you can have a great experience at a fraction of the time. So the staycation experiences in short-term rentals have really, really taken off.
And not only that, I think people were more comfortable staying in like a single family situation instead of a hotel where you don't know who's coming and going from your room. You're going to pass a lot of strangers. So I had, and what happened with me, I had 2 properties in the White Mountains, and usually March is a terrible month because the ski areas are kind of closing down and not much going on up there. But these people were from the city, so they had these small properties, and they're like, shit, everybody's home. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get to a place where there's more bedrooms, more space, so I can work over here and you can work over here and the kids can run over here. And so my places where they would have just been maybe weekends with people skiing turned into full months. People rented for like 6 months at a time because they didn't want to go back home and be cramped in their little space. So
That's true. We had a ton of people. Like, we have a lot of properties around the downtown Los Angeles area. There's so many people that at the time, 2020, even up until now, that live in like 1 or 2 bedroom apartments.
yeah,
And they don't have all the amenities or the space or the social distancing. And so they would literally book our houses that have the pools, jacuzzis, and game rooms, even if it's just for 2, 3 days, just to get away and again have a great experience with their family that they couldn't have in their apartments.
yeah, it's fantastic. And are you seeing, you're talking about the jacuzzis and the, the pool tables and all that kind of stuff. Is that something that you typically recommend that people put into their properties now?
Absolutely. I've always said that people travel for 2 reasons. One, you might have, you might be going to the, Christine's, real estate mastermind, right? And people who are going to your mastermind might just stay at an Airbnb, and they're not going to be at the Airbnb they just need somewhere to sleep and shower. They're going to be at Christine's mastermind, but
Right.
they booked it because of the proximity. And the second reason people book Airbnbs is they're not going necessarily anywhere. They just want to have an experience there without needing to actually go anywhere.
Right.
And when you combine the best of both worlds, and you can be near the downtowns, the convention centers, the beaches, the theme parks, and your property has those amenities, the pools, jacuzzis, and game rooms, then for sure you become like one of the top 1% of Airbnb properties in the area.
Yeah. Because that's the secret, right? You can compete on price or you can compete on amenities, and which one's more fun?
Exactly. So yeah, definitely we are playing a game of whoever has the best and most amenities wins right now.
Yeah. And what kind of advice when people are just getting started, what kind of, I want to say, like, mindset issues do you see, or mindset barriers do you see commonly with folks who are like, right? Because
Sure.
if we're not already millionaires, there's a reason, right? I mean, you just got right to it. I'm going to be a millionaire. Who can show me? Who can teach me? Let's go. Other people are like, oh, now I'm 43 and I don't know what to do and crap, what's going to happen, right? What kind of
Yeah.
stuff do you see typically?
Yeah. First thing I would say is, like, it's never too late. My property manager, who's also my best friend, he's 58 and he just got into Airbnb like maybe about 18 months ago. And now he has 18 Airbnbs, like not like just on his own,
Yeah.
and he didn't start until, like, again, being almost 60, and he's making great money now. And he just living his greatest life. So first of all, it's like never too late. The other thing I would say is, sometimes people say, well, Jorge, what if it doesn't make money? Like, does that mean I just got to come out of pocket? Well, we just, like when you're buying or selling properties and you look at the comps on the MLS, the comparable sales, we have a way that we can use softwares like AirDNA. And with AirDNA, you can go in there and they have a little section called the rentalizer. You put in an address of the property that you want to launch, and it's going to spit out the revenue and occupancy and nightly rate based on similar properties in that area, similar in bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, amenities, and location. So if you see that the property you want to buy or sublease has the potential to generate, say, 80,000 over the next 12 months, and your rent or mortgage payments are going to be 40,000 for the year, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right. But even if that did happen, let's say it actually happened and you were losing money, best thing you could do there is you could convert the property into a, bring in a long-term tenant that would pay that fair market rent. You would break even every month. If you're paying 3,000 a month in rent and you rent it to someone for the next 12 months for 3,000 a month, you'll break even. And at the end of your lease, you could collect your deposit, walk away, and go on to your next venture. Right. That's really the worst thing that can happen. And breaking even is not bad at all.
Right. Yeah. And obviously that's not the ideal scenario because the guy could have just leased it himself, but at least you'll learn from it, right? You'll say, wow, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I make money on that property? And sometimes it's just a matter of, let me look at the other ones. Oh, I guess my stuff looks a little shaggy compared to what they've got. And I didn't listen to Jorge and put the amenities in that he recommended. And I didn't bother to, right? Get into that sort of, I'll just save some money here and see what happens. And then you end up not succeeding.
Yeah. But I always tell people, you could do it on your own. But I think one of the problems today is a lot of people feel that if they do it on their own, they feel like they're saving money. But I always tell people there's two prices you pay. You pay for speed, or you pay to make all the mistakes, procrastinate, and likely not do it at all. And not doing it at all or taking longer, going through the learning curve is actually way more expensive and costly than just paying someone to teach you how to do it. Because that strategy I mentioned earlier that Mary Jo taught me, within 2.5 years of where I was to becoming a millionaire, my net worth in that time frame exceeded over 500,000 in 2.5 years. The mentorship I paid for was 35,000. If I had not started with that education company, it wouldn't have cost me 35,000. It would have cost me the $500,000 that I wouldn't have made.
Exactly.
And people overlook what it costs you to not do it correctly, to not have the proven blueprint, right? So again, like if somebody out there wants to become a real estate investor or have a brokerage or be a successful agent, right? They should come to Christine and be like, Christine, you've been doing this for a while. You're successful. Here's my credit card. Like that is the best. Yeah. Like,
teach me.
I don't care how much it costs, because not doing it is going to cost you more. It's going to, being at a 9 to 5 where 85% of the US population is unhappy. 80% of people in the US are 4 paychecks from being broke. And 70% of people in the US have less than $1,000 in their savings account. So not doing this and not having the right blueprint is way more costly.
It's so true. And it's easy to look and say, I mean, I can give you, I've spent a long time accumulating mistakes, and I could tell you so many times when I thought, oh, I'll just save money on this thing, and how it screwed me. Well, we don't have to go there. I just thought I want this coffee machine that I want for my new, I'm creating a co-working space, and the coffee machine I want is 15 grand. And it's, that's a lot for a coffee machine. And I don't even know where I'm going to put it exactly. So I'll have to reconfigure my kitchen. And there's a long list of things that they want you to do. And I can't find a person in my geographic area who even sells them. But nevertheless, so I bought $1,000 one, which is still a decent machine. But that $1,000 is going to go out the window because I'm eventually going to buy the $15,000 models, right? So just do it right away. Save the $1,000. But yeah, much worse examples than that, including like the first time I ever purchased real estate. It took me like 3 years to get my credit back. I never, you could say I never got the money back. But if I would have just talked to some human being who knew more than me, they would have said, don't buy now. This is a stupid time to buy. We're at the top of the market. Tomorrow afternoon, it's going to start crashing. Oh, no, that's okay. I'll buy it anyway, right? I mean, there's so many, you just don't even have a clue of how many things you don't know. So do you really need to make every single mistake yourself? Call Jorge and say, dude, help me out, man. What am I doing wrong?
And it doesn't matter. Like if you want to start a construction company, go and find someone who made $1 million in 2022 and just give them your credit card. If you want to start a barber shop, go find someone who has 5 barbershops and give them your credit card.
Right.
It's like the best thing you can do, because again, figuring it out yourself costs way more and takes longer. And I've always just been a big fan of just find someone who has the results and outcome that you desire and learn from them.
And you're buying time,
And you
which is
can't
the
make
one
any
thing we
more.
don't have enough of.
Yeah, they're not making any more real estate, and you can't make more time. So buy real estate and buy other people's time.
You know, it's Brian Tracy, who I don't know if you listen to him at all. He's a motivational speaker. His whole career started because he was, sucking at sales. He's like, man, I just cannot sell anything. And he just went to the smartest guy, the guy in the company who's doing the most in sales, and just said, hey, can I take you to lunch? And picked his brain, and then just did everything the guy said. And then other people. So the question is, why didn't every person who worked at that company go ask that guy? Because they're like too busy hating on him, right? Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's so lucky. They give him the bus territory. And people do that, right? It was like, what's this hatred for the 1%? Why don't you just go talk to the 1% and say, hi, could you just teach me how to do what you do? Sure. Most people are trying to teach.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I say. You might as well just find someone that can help you get things done faster, because I rather, now we're in a place where we get to travel as often as we want. My wife's, stay at home. I'm staying at home. Even my office, my backyard. After this podcast, I go hang out with my daughter. Might go for a swim in the jacuzzi, even though it's 50 degrees outside, but the water's hot. Like, we get to just actually raise our kids rather than someone else raising our kids, because we have to work. And unfortunately, that's like, 95% of people. Someone else is raising their kids because they have to go work to put food on the table. And it's just unfortunate that they're missing out on all those moments that are special and unique, and they're just missing out. But I believe that entrepreneurship, when done correctly, is the key to time freedom, which is the thing that everybody wants.
Absolutely. So Jorge, what kind of what kind of like podcasts or shows, or how do you keep yourself current? How do you keep your knowledge flowing in?
Yeah. So like right now, I'm a part of like 4 masterminds, which is a lot because it does require a lot of travel, but it's just amazing because I'm constantly surrounded by just players, like entrepreneurs who are operating at a whole other level than I am. Therefore, there's always room to grow. It makes me feel uncomfortable in a positive way, where it's like, wow, there's so much more to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the leader, whoever's facilitating these masterminds, obviously they're at a whole other level. They're leading everybody else. So that's how I stay sharp, is by surrounding myself. I still remember when Mary Jo, one of the things she said is, Jorge, if you can't change your friends, change your friends. And so I've changed my friends. And now my friends are these people that I'm meeting at these masterminds, who are all making millions of dollars while impacting, thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in the process. So that's how I stay sharp. And I also have the YouTube premium subscriptions, like ad free, because I'm listening to YouTube all the time, whether it's podcasts, listening to people like Tony Robbins, like Les Brown, just entrepreneurs, motivational speakers. I listen to a lot of Jim Rohn, and I'm always just staying sharp. I also, in order to attract the right people into your life, you first have to let go of the wrong people into your life. And in order to attract the good things into your life, you have to close out and shut out the bad things in your life. So personally, I don't have a Netflix subscription. I don't watch TV, and I don't even listen to music. And it might sound kind of extreme, but that's how serious I am about my life. I'm very serious about my life. I only got one, so I got to make it count. Right. So when I'm driving, I don't listen to music. I don't even know if the radio station still exists. I'm always 100% listening to a podcast or something on YouTube about personal development, mindset, real estate, entrepreneurship, buying businesses, mergers and acquisitions. That's how I stay sharp, is I'm always learning every day.
Yeah, that's so smart. And what you said though is it's very key, that you have to let go of these people, because let's imagine that you made some money and you just kept your same friends, and you'd be like making more money than them. They might make you feel like a little bad about it, and you might be buying them shit because you wanted them to like you. Or, I mean, not that you would do this, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in a crowd where money is not really respected, where money isn't made. You're not getting new ideas, and you already feel like you've arrived because you're making $20 a week more than everybody else, right?
Yeah,
You always want to be, someone's better than you. You want to be with people who are better than you because they're going to pull you forward.
exactly. So you got to do it. You got to surround yourself with people. What do they say? Feathers of a bird flock together.
Yeah,
Um, that's how it is. You become the average of those 5 people. So you just got to get around people who are already doing it. That's like the number one thing you can do.
definitely. Fantastic. So Jorge, I mean, I guess we could sit and talk philosophy all day, but why don't you give us like some more? Is there anything else that you want to tell us about how to get started? Like people who are just kind of playing with it, that they really want to get going. What do you recommend?
Yeah, the three main things when it comes to like subleasing, I know that's like the opportunity that most people are looking to get their feet wet and get started, get their foot in the door. One, you want to contact the local building department of the city that you want to start an Airbnb in and ask them what their short-term regulation is to confirm if you can get a permit. And only launch in cities where you can get a permit. You want to stay away from the gray areas where they're not issuing permits, but you can still do it because if they implement a regulation, it may not be in your favor once it's there, and you don't want your business to be short-lived. So make sure you can get a permit, only launch where you can get a permit. And the regulation is not by state or country. And in most cases, not even by counties, it's by city, right? So contact the city. Number two is look at AirDNA to look at the projected revenue, and that's how you make sure you don't lose money. And number three, 100% of lease agreements say no subleasing. So you have to make sure that you speak to the property owners or managers or the agent involved. Let them know you want to do a short term. Let them know that what you want to use the property for, and get permission in writing in the lease agreement that your name has permission to use this property as a short term rental and to change the locks. Because I get messages on Instagram all the time. People will say, "Hey, Jorge, I'm getting evicted from my sublease," and it's like, well,
Hello.
you should have watched my podcast with Christine.
Right.
And so I want to build things that are sustainable and scalable. I don't want things that are going to be short-lived. So I always get permission in writing, do those three things, and you're off to a good start.
Definitely. Yeah. Don't try to skate under the radar for sure.
Exactly.
Excellent advice. So, Jorge, what do you wish I would have asked you that we haven't touched on? Is there anything else you really want to feel compelled to share?
That's a great question. I think we covered a lot. I would just say that, what stops most people from taking action is not knowing the strategies or the tactics. Like, it's always mindset, and your mindset is shaped by, your upbringing and the people that you surround yourself with. And so if a lot of the people that you're around are like 9-to-5ers who are complaining and whining that they don't love what they do, and they don't like to work out and eat right and all that stuff, then guess what? Like, you're just going to become more of that. And again, your mindset starts to really elevate when you surround yourself with people that are operating at levels that you want to operate. But more than anything, guys, focus on mindset. I would recommend reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's how I started with the book, and then I went to their education. And another great book is The One Thing. And then if I can give a third one, I would say check out those are my top two. I don't want to give you guys too much. Check out those two books. Start there. And you can check out my book, actually. This is a great book. It's a bestseller on Amazon. It's called Breaking Through, and it is a mindset book. And again, before going into the strategies, you need to upgrade your mindset. So check out those books. And then after that, if you guys want some more help, you guys can message me on Instagram.
Excellent. Yeah. So that was my next question, is how can people best reach out to you, learn more about you? I mean, we're going to put all these links on the show notes, but just please, if people want to know immediately, tell us.
Yeah. So my Instagram is and then it's the THE, and then my name, Jorge Contreras. So the Jorge Contreras, no underscores, none of that.
Cool. Awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you for the opportunity. I was so great being here, and this was awesome. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, Jorge. It's been fantastic. You're really fun to talk to.
Thank you. And I'll see you guys soon.
All right. Thanks. And thank you for listening. I know somebody who thinks it would be better to have lots of money than not. Somebody who thinks it'd be great to take their money for a ride, for a drive to a restaurant, for on vacation, and have a good time. So why don't you forward this episode to them and let them elevate, and they will thank you for it. In the meantime, have a great week.